The world watches as the crisis in Ukraine continues. It's easy to get lost in the political debates, but behind the headlines, there are real people suffering. Millions of Ukrainians are caught in a desperate struggle for survival. Their homes are gone, shattered by conflict, families are torn apart, children are left with nothing but the clothes on their backs. These are the faces of the Ukrainian crisis. They are mothers and fathers, sons and daughters. They are teachers, shopkeepers and doctors. Their lives have been turned upside down by a war they did not ask for. Their stories are a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict. We cannot ignore their plight. The numbers are staggering. Over 10 million people have been displaced. They are living in overcrowded shelters, struggling to find food and clean water. The most vulnerable among them, the elderly and the children, are bearing the brunt of this tragedy. Imagine a child too young to understand war, shivering in the cold, hungry and scared. This is the reality for countless Ukrainian children today. We must remember that behind every statistic is a human being, a person with hopes and dreams, now living a nightmare. Their stories are a call to action, a plea for help that we cannot ignore. We must stand with Ukraine not just in words but in deeds. The conflict in Ukraine is not just a crisis of today, it's a crisis for tomorrow. It's robbing an entire generation of their childhood. Schools have been destroyed, forcing millions of children out of education. The psychological scars of war will stay with them long after the fighting stops. Imagine a child who once dreamed of becoming a doctor, a teacher, or an artist. Now their dreams are replaced by fear and uncertainty. Their childhood, a time for learning and laughter, is stolen. This is the tragic legacy of the crisis in Ukraine. The world has a responsibility to act. We cannot stand by and watch as a generation is robbed of its future. We must ensure that Ukrainian children have access to education, healthcare, and psychological support. They are the future of Ukraine, and we must invest in their well-being. The international community must step up its efforts to provide humanitarian aid and support reconstruction efforts. We need to create safe spaces for children to learn and play, to heal and to hope. Their future and the future of Ukraine depends on it. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the crisis in Ukraine. The news is filled with stories of destruction and despair. Political debates often overshadow the human suffering. But we must remember that every individual can make a difference. We don't need to be politicians or diplomats to help. There are many ways to show solidarity with Ukraine. Donating to reputable organizations providing aid on the ground is a powerful way to make a difference. Even a small contribution can provide food, water, or shelter to those in desperate need. Spreading awareness is crucial. Talk to your friends and family, share verified information on social media, challenge misinformation and hate speech. By amplifying the voices of Ukrainians, we can help ensure their plight is not forgotten. Supporting diplomatic efforts for peace is vital. Contact your elected officials and urge them to prioritize a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Every voice calling for peace matters. The crisis in Ukraine is a test of our collective humanity. It's a time for compassion, solidarity, and action. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, can make a difference. Let's not allow apathy or indifference to define our response to this tragedy. The Ukrainian people are resilient. They have shown incredible strength and determination in the face of adversity. But they cannot overcome this crisis alone. They need our help, our support, and our unwavering solidarity. Let's remember the faces of the Ukrainian people. Let's hear their stories, amplify their voices, and stand with them in their hour of need. Let's work together to build a future where peace, justice, and humanity prevail. Every action counts.